How we doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. With me, my co-host, Mr. Mike Zappi, out in San Antonio, Texas. How you doing, bud?
A couple hours away from the championship game. I was supposed to be there right now, but gave my tickets to my buddy Matt, so I hope you're having a good time out there, bud.
All right. Very cool. Yeah, it's unfortunate you couldn't go to that game. I think it's going to be good. Maybe a little closer. I failed to post our predictions on Instagram. I was waiting for Brett and Idris, but my final is 85-79 in favor of UConn, and I believe you want 75-64, if I'm not mistaken.
77-65. And I know the spread was, I think, 7.5 points. And even talking to my trainer today, I was like, I just don't think San Diego State's going to be able to cover it just based on how UConn's been playing all tournament long. And right now they're late into the first half, and UConn's up by 16 points.
So it looks like the San Diego State prediction that they're going to have to fall short of a full comeback. We'll see how that plays out in the second half. No real surprise. It's funny, in a tournament with so many surprises, when I saw this matchup and just dove into it player for player, I don't feel it's the best matchup for San Diego State by any means. I also think San Diego State is fortunate to have gotten this far given what happened in the previous round. I also felt that way about Miami, but it's been a hell of a tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case for going back to the round of 64, where when the surprises started happening, when we see a Purdue go down early, one of the favorites this year, it's just like this has been one of the best tournaments where everyone's bracket was pretty much busted in the second round.
Yeah, it takes at least until the Sweet 16 until people start losing hope that they could win one of those, brackets. One of the toughest things to forecast if you're into gambling or if you're just into just doing it on a non-financial level and just picking out brackets. But the NCAA tournament has proven pretty much since I've been watching it, and I would have to say, if I'm going to think about it now, my first NCAA tournament that I truly got into was probably the year that Grant Hill and Christian Laettner's Duke Blue Devils defeated the great UNLV team featuring Larry Johnson. Greg Anthony was on that team as well. They had a hell of a team. Tarkanian was actually their coach. And cool Tarkanian story is that he was actually very close to being the Los Angeles Lakers coach prior to Pat Riley. Well, Pat Riley got his break because of an unfortunate bike accident. Right. Watch Winning Time, the story of it's the rise of the 1980s Lakers, the Showtime Lakers. Phenomenal, definitely worth a watch. And how they were able to find two men that favored the features of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson is just outrageous. These dudes look just like them.
Yeah, no kidding.
Great show. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it, but I'm telling the viewers as well, you got to watch this show. It is that good. And speaking of the NCAA tournament, the man who has brought so many memories to this great tournament, Jim Nantz, is calling it a career. And, in addition to lovers of collegiate basketball, this also will be impactful with lovers of football because he and Tony Romo have shared the booth. Before we talk about potential replacements for Jim Nantz, I would just like to hear your thoughts on what you think about him in his journey of just being a phenomenal commentator for almost 4 decades.
Well, I mean, he's one of those guys, man, that if you follow sports of any kind, whether it's football, basketball, you're going to know who Jim Nantz is. This is a guy that's been headlining all the headline games for years now, and when we think of Al Michaels or John Madden, Pat Summerall, Jim Nantz is in that conversation with a lot of these guys. So yeah, it's unfortunate because he has definitely called a lot of great games.
I think they almost forget how many. I mean, his time of covering these games, he saw the rise of Duke, their first national championship victory, as I stated, when they did defeat UNLV in the Final Four. Just so many phenomenal teams that he's seen. He saw the rise of Davidson when they shook up the college basketball world, when everybody found out who Steph Curry really was. I'm willing to bet, unless if you were a devout fan of Del Curry back when he was with the Charlotte Hornets, something like that, I don't necessarily think you would have known who his son was up until the Davidson moments, and obviously the player that he has become in the NBA. On some people's list, very close to surpassing the great Magic Johnson. I'm not all the way comfortable with that, but that's not even what this is about. Jim Nantz has seen it all, man. He truly has seen it all. Duncan and Wake Forest, like just so many cool moments over the years. And some of the biggest upsets too, not to mention.
Yeah, and the one that comes to mind right away is the championship game back in 2016 when it was Villanova against North Carolina.
That was wild.
And, and that I remember the call where you see Villanova get the ball coming up. Their best opportunity was to get it to half court, and they do, and they sink the game winner. And it was just like, me being a guy that has always enjoyed North Carolina basketball, it was a dagger, but I could always hear Jim Nantz making that call, and it goes the same for many of those games, especially whenever you'd have like a Princeton team come up big like this year, or in the years past with a Providence. He was always involved with those big calls, and especially in college basketball.
Yeah, and even most recently, the last 2 years, where two different New Jersey schools were knocking out powerhouses. Last year was quite the Cinderella story. This year, with Farley Dickinson, how they started the tournament, and just basically that was like your first big shot of the tournament, just to start it off, knocking out Purdue. And you mentioned on a recent show how Purdue has struggled in those high seedings. And, as a program, they're going to have to figure it out because, the gap has closed, so to speak. And we talked about this. The gap has closed when we talk about the bigger conferences. We haven't seen it quite as much in college football as frequently, but this is the tournament where you really see it happen. And I think what makes this tournament so beautiful is that it is really a one and done. These aren't series, this is a one and done. Mm-hmm. And no matter how great of a team you have to be on your A game, and you can take no one lightly. But I think what I remember mostly about Jim Nantz, what I'm going to take with me, not just in basketball, but even covering football, is just he has a way of always making sure that the players get the absolute most shine. And I think it's a true skill of his. I think it also speaks to his unselfishness. I almost think he was slightly embarrassed that he was the story this year. It's a well-deserved to be the story, but I just think it speaks on the man's humbleness and the man's greatness. And I wish him the absolute best in retirement. The guy's just outstanding, and he's a class act.
Oh, I absolutely agree. It's sad to see him go because he's a great one, but got to move on.
And before we move along to our next topic, we're going to keep it in the NCAA, talk about the controversy from the women's championship game. I do want to ask you, before we move that along, who do you see as a potential replacement in the NFL booth with Tony Romo? I know you did make a mention of Greg Olsen, and then we were like, nah, it's not going to work, because usually there are no more three-man panels or three-person panels. You need the non-player and the former jock, so to speak. It works. It really works. I mean, Madden and Summerall, if you really think about it, both played. A lot of people forget that Pat Summerall also played. A lot of people forget that. But in today's times, it is unlikely, unless if you have a three-man panel, that you're going to get two former players in the same panel. It might be on a pregame. It might be on a postgame, like NFL Network does a great job of postgame interviews where winners of the teams join the studio. I've been kind of doing a little homework, and I'm not quite sure who I think should replace him just yet on the NFL side of things for CBS with Tony Romo.
Well, and I mean, I think because when you think of a Jim Nantz and what you're replacing, you're not just replacing the CBS Jim Nantz with NFL Sunday and Tony Romo. You're also replacing the guy that calls the NCAA March Madness, and he also calls the Masters. And,
Yeah, you're talking about some big deal events.
That's a tough one, man, because if we're talking just football, then yeah, I think it'd be easier to name a couple of names. But because we're looking for someone that can broaden their horizons to other sports, it's hard. It's hard because there's only few people like that can cover multiple sports and succeed very well at it.
Yeah, Bob Costas has kind of transitioned, but when I look at Bob Costas's body of work, I still feel that he was the most impactful, or at least the best at basketball. We've seen it with other former athletes or just great commentators who have crossed over into different sports. But I still tend to believe, like, I'll be honest, when I see Ernie Johnson doing hockey on some filler show up stuff, I mean, I love that he's trying, but I'm like, dude, this is weird. That's the sport where you need all the jocks. You need all the jocks for a hockey one. I tend to agree there. I love Ernie Johnson. When I think about that panel, you've got Kenny the Jet, you've got Charles Barkley, you've got Shaq, and obviously Ernie. That's the best team.
And I think also, yeah, no question. And when I hear that episode where they were talking to Ernie about Shaq pissing him off that one time, that's how you know that's the perfect panel together. Yeah, you can't touch that one. It's a tough one, man.
It's very rare that you get people that are genuinely friends. I think you saw it with Summerall and Madden. I think that's what made them so phenomenal. Later in Madden's career, he worked NBC games alongside Al Michaels. They were magic together. Personally, I think John Madden pretty much could work just about with anyone together, because I think one of the things that was always overlooked about John was just how prepared he was. And similar to this man, Jim Nantz, he had a great way of making everybody else shine. I never saw a man focus on player for player with the detail that John Madden did. And no matter whatever you think about him as a coach, and he was a damn good one, and obviously the video game franchise is terrific, I think that was his biggest contribution, was in the booth. Jim Nantz, he's going to be missed. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see where they go. Tony Romo is their best commentator. Tom Brady's going to be competing against Romo on the other side, doing the predominantly NFC games. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. It's going to be fun to see how this all goes.
Yeah, but they're still trying to catch Troy and Buck,
Well, yeah, Troy and Buck are still that duo. There have always been mixed feelings about that duo. I'm going to put it short and sweet. I like Troy a lot. Joe, he's good, but I don't think he's great. I think he's a little overrated. But you know what? I'm just one of millions. A lot of people love the guy.
Yeah, I love both of them.
You want to talk about a treasure? New York Knicks home games? Walt Clyde Frazier? Oh man. That dude's vocabulary is about as phenomenal as his wardrobe. That him and Marv Albert together, like we could go on for eons about some of these great duos. I do want to keep it on the NCAA for a moment, and this is something that our other co-host, Mr. Idris Salam, were very passionate about today on social media on some of his handles. A double standard 2 times over. Our thoughts on the controversy following the Lady Tigers' epic win in the NCAA tournament. I'm going to try to the best of my ability to give you one of my rationales here, what I take issue with. When I think about being a man in 2023 or being a man in 91 or whatever, I've always had an appreciation for how I believe that women do a better job of really knowing how to express their feelings, for the most part. You think about competitive sports. You think about somebody like the late, great Kobe Bryant, who had the Mamba Academy, who has gone out of his way to open up and break down doors for women to do the most with sports. And when I look at the trash-talking element, or even the gestures or the taunting, that seems to have so many people upset, I say to myself, guys, where's this energy for the men? I have a hard time believing that these two women, who we're going to talk about in a moment, were more vile than a Michael Jordan or a Larry Bird on a court. And those are just two of many greats that were excellent trash talkers. What about a Kevin Garnett? What about a Gary Payton? You know what I'm saying, dude? And in that regard, I sometimes back it up and I say, it seems like the people that are the most offended are the people that never played competitive sports on any level. I don't get what is the whole blow up here? What is the whole fallback here? You know, we've seen a lot of things on social media. Some people actually feel and believe that, Caitlin Clark got the benefit of doing the "You Can't See Me," like, off of John Cena. Oh, she was doing it at the bench. Only her teammates. That's a bunch of bullshit, and we both know that. Angel Reese, right at her on triple zeros. I've seen worse. I've seen so much worse in so many different sports. When Ali was on top of Sonny Liston's unconscious carcass, did that look like a face of non-venom? Mm-hmm. When Mike Tyson almost killed Michael Spinks, it's. And I said this to Idris, and I really feel strongly about this. Instead of worrying about a very small moment wrapping up a very great tournament, what the media needs to do, instead of trying to divide everybody, whether it be based on race, whether it be based on whatever narrative they're trying to sell, celebrate these two women, market the hell out of it, and make it lead into the WNBA where this can be even better. Because when they made mentions of how this could be another Magic Johnson-Larry Bird rivalry that evolves and morphs into the WNBA, when you think about WNBA ratings and you think about how they need more star power, more storytelling ability, it don't get better than this. And I think that's something that needs to be recognized. And, my closing part on this is nothing should surprise me. In the year 2023, if a woman in many a state cannot even have control over what she's allowed to do with her own body, why would I even be that surprised that they have to be subjected to being looked at underneath? They're still the creme de la creme of their sport. And anyone who's played competitive sports knows that trash talking, taunting is all part of it. We see it in baseball. You've never seen a Tatis or a Giancarlo rip one 450 feet and give the pitcher that stare like dummy. It's all part of the competitive nature of sports. But, enough. Like, what we get offended about sometimes just really blows my mind.
Oh, bro, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse.
I applaud both of them. I applaud Caitlin for taking her loss like a true champion, and that's the part that I'm so bothered by. She's not the one that has the issue. It's everybody else. She just lost the championship, and she's arguably been the best player in this tournament. And that's all you're going to remember? This? Come on, bro. Come on.
Cancel culture for the win. Unbelievable.
Cruzy, what up? This is my cousin Mario Cruz. Actually, he was in Texas for a good while. I'm not 100% sure if he's still there. Cuz, thanks for tuning in. Hope you're enjoying the show. Love this kid. I've known this kid since we were little guys. My father and his father. Many summers together. Remember when men were on ESPN? Oh, here we go with this.
Oh, man.
Woo! Okay. Where are we going to go next? I'm going to go to WWE, man. Since the pandemic, WrestleMania has basically been a 2-night event. The pandemic essentially opened it up. They broke the biggest gate with the 2 nights combined. And SoFi Stadium essentially only had a record for 1 night because day 2 broke the record of day 1. The biggest event in WWE history, Pontiac Silverdome, WrestleMania 3, 93 somewhat thousand. Hulk slamming Andre. What I liked about this, and we talk about now, professional wrestling, the outcomes are already decided. But there's a lot of things that go down in wrestling that you can't necessarily forecast. Like, for instance, the Golden Boy, Shane McMahon, the son of the company owner, Vince, blows a quad coming out as a novelty appearance. Snoop Dogg, on the fly, says, oh, shit, I got to do something. He knocks out The Miz. So the
Did he
Miz
drop
lost
the people's elbow?
He sure did. I don't know if you want to call it the people's elbow. That looked like more like the jabroni elbow, but it was cool though. It was. I mean, this isn't the stuff I grew up on, but I gotta say the evolution of the women's division is actually incredible. I remember during the era of the Attitude Era. Devon, get the table. We went to an event. We went to a couple. MSG, my cousin and I, where the Dudley Boys threw Mae Young through a table at MSG. That was crazy. We saw Taz's first victory, first WWF, now WWE appearance, defeat Kurt Angle's first loss. We were there for that. We were there for The Rock winning the Royal Rumble. Back to WrestleMania. Roman Reigns continues his reign. It's getting legendary with Roman Reigns because only 4 other men have held the title as long as him. Bruno Sammartino, Pedro Morales, Hulk Hogan, Bob Backlund. And I think everyone in attendance, the grand majority, wanted Cody Rhodes to win. I like how they threw that curveball and really surprised people by not giving them what they want, because I think when it comes to professional wrestling and what makes a story good is that you have to have the ability to stretch it out to make people want more. And I'm sure you could relate as being a boxing fan. Many of us wanted Floyd Mayweather to always get beat. He never quite did. But it was almost like the reason why you tuned in. Is it going to finally happen? And I think with WWE, what they've done with Roman Reigns, who happens to be The Rock's cousin, very famous wrestling family, Yokozuna, the late, great former WWF champion, also a member of that family. They're stretching it out to a point where I actually believe tonight, which I'm going to record, I actually am recording it raw, and I'm kind of in and out with wrestling. But one thing I must say over the years is that the first Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania is the best show of the year, more times than not. And WrestleMania has always been something that no matter what I'm doing in life, I always manage to watch it, even if it's the one wrestling event I do. I've been in and out with wrestling. I was a huge avid fan during the Attitude Era. First WrestleMania I ever saw was 3, Hogan and Andre. But other news regarding this too, WWE got sold today to Endeavor. Endeavor is a company that also oversees UFC, and that's going to be very interesting. I'm not even going to put his other comment up. I'll talk to you about that off air. Pretty damn funny, though. Zappy in private chat. I'm going to hit you with this.
I just saw the comment.
Oh, you saw? That's right. That's right. Yeah, you got.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it gets better.
Oh man.
Oh, we're
the unthinkable has happened. Our bid for 162-0 has come to an end.
Texas Rangers got beat, huh?
Yeah, we got shut out 2-0.
Wow. Speaking of shutouts or limiting offenses, my New York Yankees today, 8-1 victory over the defending National League champion Philadelphia Phillies. And the Phillies don't look anything like they looked in October. They look like a shell of themselves. They're missing some key components right now. But in 5 games, or 4 games rather, the Yankees have only given up. They're averaging like basically less than giving up 3 runs a game. That is a formula to constantly win. In our 3 victories, we've given up 1 run. That is good stuff. And I don't care who you're playing, that works. Aaron Hicks, after complaining about that he doesn't know what his role is, in the words of The Rock, I feel that he needs to know his role, shut his mouth, and maybe get a hit occasionally. Frenchie Cordero, hell of a play in right field today. Kind of got overlooked. Team Garver, Yankee fan. Yeah, that was quite the crush. Mo. Zappy, 3-1 start for both our teams. I can't complain, and nor should you.
Oh, I'm not complaining. I never would have thought we would have swept the Phillies. And I definitely would have never thought we would have came back being down 5-0 and to win game 1.
After seeing what they looked like against you, and after seeing some of their issues, I'll be surprised if they're not 0-6 in a couple of days.
They're going to win tomorrow.
So uncomfortable when these Met fans root for the Yankees.
I got to send a shout out to my man, my boy, Mr. Joey Gallo. He's having himself a resurrected career so far.
Is that the jersey that you're wearing right now?
I'm sporting Gallo right now.
Yeah, just show it, man. Just in case anybody, there are Joey Gallo jerseys out there, folks. Check this out.
That's it.
Yeah, he's rocking it. That's the Joey Gallo. I like how on the Yankee telecast today, Michael Kay kind of took a sly shot, underhanded shot at Joey Gallo, because he put up a photo of about 3-4 guys that are off to phenomenal quick starts, and he said Joey Gallo enjoying the chill of Minnesota.
He is.
In other words, just not in the big market, thriving.
Can't wait till he's a Ranger again. I'm loving this early season, though. We're still early in. We're only 4 games in, but it's like I see the positive side of things where, the more runs being scored, a lot more stolen bases, things like that. I like that, but I don't like that now games are getting done in 2 hours. It's going to turn me off to wanting to go to spend my money on the games.
I tend to agree because I think the beautiful thing, and we've said this on previous shows, is that with baseball, there is literally no time limit. John said it on our last show. When you go with the intention that you're spending the day. And that's never been a bad thing if you really want to be about it and be there. So I believe that in that regard, I'm not a fan. I will say this, though. I am kind of shocked at how smooth the pitching clock has gone. I thought it was going to be a lot worse than what we've been seeing.
Yeah, the rate of errors because of that, whether it's forced strikes or whatever, it's been low. I think off the top of my head, I think I can only think of 6 instances where this has happened so far in the season. If you told Major League Baseball that after the opening weekend they would only have 6 mess ups, I think they'll take that.
No, it's pretty phenomenal. I thought it was going to be a real shit show for the better part of 5 or 6 weeks. I thought it was going to be really rough, and it hasn't been. I saw Nestor Cortez today, who is a guy who's known for, I wouldn't call him a staller, but he likes to take his time. I thought he made some adjustments in game. Wasn't his finest. He got himself the best way to explain Nestor's performance today was that he got out of a couple of jams that could have been detrimental. It wasn't his sharpest stuff, but definitely good enough to win. And it always helps when you have great defense behind you. DJ LeMahieu, he made some great stabs at third. And that's a valuable piece to have when you're trying to build a championship team. You have a guy who can play third, second, or first. And I'm happy because Donaldson's out of the lineup. Anytime that happens, I'm pretty much in a good mood.
Oh man, you hate him so much. Yesterday you were cheering his name when he hit that homer to make it 6-5, and now you're hating him again.
I'm not a Josh Donaldson fan, but that was a pretty cool moment on my late father's anniversary day. I've mentioned that on many a show. Giancarlo, the eye test told me that he hit number 3. He missed it by a few feet, but you talk about exit velo. Nobody quite like Giancarlo Stanton. I like the way we look so far. But, at the same time, I know the kind of start we got off to last year. And I also have a bit of a not so great opinion on the Philadelphia Phillies. They're looking a lot more like the team that was lost in the sauce when they fired Girardi, more so than the team that made the World Series. Then when you factor in their injuries, you factor in the depth and the talented rosters of that NL East, I'm not sure the Phillies can hang. And that was my one drawback when I made my list of playoff teams. I said, wait a minute. Maybe I'll pull these guys back a little. The New York Mets took one on the chin today. Johnny's boys definitely bludgeoned the New York Mets. And, it's early. Nothing should surprise anyone in April, is I think what I want to say. But I do think that so far it's been an all-in-all success. Yeah. My cousin making a good point here. How about Volpe calling DJ off a few plays? Yeah, the kid is showing that grit already. Feeling very comfortable playing in front of the Bronx faithful. How does Remoto pronounce that coming from Oklahoma? That's the home of good old JR. Make a little wrestling reference. Anything else, Zappy, that you're seeing that you like? I like the speed of I don't like the fact that the games are going quicker, but I do like the fact that it's more offensive driven, and I do like the fact that more bags are getting stolen. I think it leads to just more exciting baseball.
I definitely think we're going to see someone steal 70 bags this year, possibly 80.
There's a distinct possibility.
Who was it? Corbin Carroll yesterday when he stole second and third. I mean, players like that, when they're so fast, and now with the way the new rules of pitching and everything, it's making it easier for these guys to steal bases, especially the Corbin Carrolls, the Ronald Acuñas. So I definitely think we're going to get to 70 or maybe even 80. I would not be surprised. We're going to see batting averages be a lot higher. I mean, they're going to be a lot higher this year. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a few guys in the high 300s. Wouldn't be surprised if we had one guy in 400s. It's one of those seasons. It's definitely more offensive driven. I like it. Just don't speed the game up that much, because if I'm going to spend money, I want to be there 3 hours.
No, I hear you. I hear you on that. Well, that's what getting there early for the tailgate is anyway. Other side of this too, I think as the season continues to move along, I do believe that, the metrics that have always ruled are going to continue to rule. Pitchers win more matchups. And I do think that there's going to be junctures of the season where you're going to see some of your favorite offensive players still kind of go through the slumps and some of that. But so far, I would have to say very successful start to the baseball season. Couple of surprises. Rockies came out of the gate strong. Padres, a little slow. I'm not too worried about the Padres, though. They're so damn talented. And, our two teams, 750 winning percentage out the gates. I think we'll take that.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question about it. Anyone that says they want to take a 750 winning percentage, whether it's in a 162-game season or it's a 17-game season, you're lying. You always want to be on the winning side of things.
I do agree with this to a level. My cousin, if Judge steals 30, the game is tarnished. I don't see the big man, even though he runs great for a big man, quite frankly, I don't think the Yankees want him even putting himself in a position to get injured like that.
No, you do not. Not an Aaron Judge.
I think the ceiling for Judge is like low 20s, and that's the ceiling. I'm thinking more like maybe 12 bags. But, you never know. I mean, crazier things have happened. I thought DJ LeMahieu hit a triple, but then on the replay, I realized that the center fielder actually misplayed the ball not just once, but twice. So, initially I'm like, oh, wow, DJ LeMahieu has the first triple of the Yankee season. No, he doesn't. Okay. Yeah, the 2 slot. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, Mario. I have mixed feelings about him hitting the 2 slot. You think it was triple? Volpe at the bottom pushes it. Yeah. I like this. We'll get him on one day. Mario, we'll get you on the show one day. I'm going to flip it over to the NBA. Can the Bucks hold on to that 1 seed? Things have been kind of caving a little. And which lower seeded team, not named the Golden State Warriors, can run the table out west? I'm going to let you start this. I'm going to kind of hit on some of the stuff that I see happening as those teams vie for position for the NBA playoffs.
It's like we talked about the other day when we had John on the show in regards to the Bucks. Is it time to sound the alarm? What happens if they make it into the playoffs and they don't advance far or even lose in the Eastern Conference Finals to Boston? I'm a little worried about this team. Boston looks very good right now, and it's always about how you're going into the playoffs. And I would take Boston right now over Milwaukee.
Yeah, John feared it. He made it very clear in our last show. As a Knicks fan, I've made it very, very clear that I would prefer to see the Boston Celtics as opposed to the Milwaukee Bucks. I think it always comes down to matchups. And out east, you can't sleep on Philly. I feel that Joel Embiid has been improving and getting his mind right for playoff basketball. The East is interesting right now. The East is interesting. I'm very pleased with the Knicks' first round probable, which is going to be Cleveland, a team that the Knicks have been successful against. We'll see, man. Maybe I'm over here like, oh, I don't want Milwaukee. Maybe I do want Milwaukee the way they've been playing defense lately. And I've said it a few times already. I love the way this Knicks offense looks when Julius Randle is not in the lineup. I actually feel that this could be something the Knicks might want to look into moving forward, maybe an offseason trade. I think they're a more efficient offense without Randle. I'm not saying Randle's not a good ball player. I just tend to like them better without him. I think they play better team ball.
Yeah, and then now as far as the West goes, which lower seed team do I think could make noise?
Well, I think without saying, you naturally you're going to say Golden State.
Yeah. Well, the question was without not named Golden State. Define lower seeded team.
Pretty much anybody that's underneath 5.
Underneath 5. So I'm gonna give 2. And they're both out of Los Angeles. I think the Clippers and Lakers both have the teams to make a run in the playoffs.
You really think the Lakers can make a run?
I think the way the Lakers have been playing basketball as of late, to position themselves now to almost jump the Warriors to be in the top 6 and not even have to go into the play-in tournament. I think it's big. And quite frankly, the goal is to not be in the play-in tournament because you're talking about one and done now. And the Clippers, when you're talking about you look at what the Clippers have. When you have a healthy Kawhi Leonard, you have one of the best defensive players in the league. And he's a guy that can score on demand.
Keyword being healthy.
Healthy, yeah. And same with Paul George, it's just this team has the talent there. You go and bring in a Russell Westbrook, which has actually been working pretty well with this team. I think the Clippers are a team that could do it, But then I look at the Lakers, and when you really look at all the trades they made at the deadline, they're starting to pay dividends, So I hate saying it because I hate the Lakers so much, but they're starting to turn into that team now.
I think one thing that we probably both agree on is that we're not going to see a run out of those Dallas Mavericks. It looks like the Kyrie Irving trade has – not just the Kyrie Irving trade. I'm going to take it a step further and a step before. Letting Jalen Brunson go was a huge mistake for that franchise.
That was we see right now with the Knicks. Clinched the playoffs yesterday. This team looks like they could be one of the best teams in the East that makes a run at it this year. And
I haven't really believed that since 2012, 2013. And, when we had Kidd, Melo, Chandler, Amare. That's the last time I really believed that the Knicks had a chance at the finals.
Yeah, it's awesome with this to watch, but it's awesome to see that Jalen Brunson is the X factor. Here's a guy that Dallas is willing to move away from. They wanted to keep him. Thought they can move away without him. He went and signed with New York, and now they go and make a trade for Kyrie Irving, and we've seen it hasn't worked. He's not going to re-sign with Dallas.
I mean, dude, Emmanuel Quickley's awesome backup. And when you have a former league MVP and Derrick Rose as your third string, and not just that, basically cutting down the rotation to a 10-man rotation, essentially. I think that has also helped the Knicks, the cohesive unit that they've become. And they've had some growing pains, for a good juncture of the year. Struggle winning games at home. It looks like they're starting to grow out of some of that, and it's important because they are a good road team, which I applaud. But in the playoffs, you got to win your home games. And Knicks definitely have a shot, and I'm excited about it. I want to see if this team can push somebody and pull off an upset. And it's wide open. And, good friend of the show, Sergio Rodriguez, I saw one of his hot takes. And he made an excellent point saying how the second round of the Western Conference can be possibly an easier opponent than what teams will draw in the first round just based on the play-in, based on, rest minutes, injury nurturing, yada, 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 has really turned the league into where once upon a time being the absolute number one seed was everything to everyone. It's still important. More so in the East, I believe it's more important right now. But out West, you have teams. Look at the Warriors. 5 seed. I don't want to play them if I'm anybody. That championship pedigree, that experience.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I've been advocating for a long time but the thing is they still haven't really figured out how to win on the road, and that's why they want to be a top 4 seed. Doesn't look like they're going to get it, but they're the one team that if they can pull a road game. Oh, they've really bad, but they're the team too that come playoff time, if they need to get that one road win.
It's kind of scary. I can see the Golden State Warriors winning more road games in these playoffs than they did in the regular season. And they might have to. They might have to.
Yeah.
They might very well have to in order to win an NBA title. Not necessarily, but it's possible. And once again, with all these upsets that could occur, you could see a scenario where Golden State, as a 5 seed, could have home court advantage in the Western Finals, depending on who advances. It's like the top seeds in the West are great teams. Obviously Denver, a lot of people's pick. They're not my pick, though. I just don't view them as a team that's going to do it when they must, which is in the playoffs. And you mentioned like how things always change, some things stay the same. You're talking about a team, you mentioned the Lakers, a team that will have a LeBron James. You talk about Golden State, we know what they have done, and we know what they are trying to continue to do. Leads to a lot of good storylines. And while I'm not the biggest fan of the product all the time that the NBA puts out, one thing I must admit is that right now, these playoffs are going to be very, very exciting.
Oh, definitely. I'm really excited about it. Only 1 week left.
Yeah, coming soon. We're going to be doing a playoff preview show on that. I also am going to do a breakdown of not just the playoffs, but where these teams stand and what they stand to lose if they don't take a next step. Because I look at certain players, certain teams where an early exit could really cost a lot of people futures. And I'm not just talking about head coaches. I'm talking about the players, change of direction for a lot of teams. This is going to be a very vital playoffs to a lot of teams this year. I think of a team like Miami that can have a lot of moving parts if things end quickly. It's going to be interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to see what this brings. Zappy, anything else on your mind? What else would you like to speak on tonight?
We could say, hey, OBJ has an offer on the table from the Baltimore Ravens right now. It looks like it's right around the $15 million per.
What?
Yeah, we'll see if he takes it.
What?
Yeah. He's got an offer on the table right now from the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know if that's a move to try to get Lamar, since Lamar now is changing his stance on his contract demands. So
he really had a choice.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just something to keep an eye on because the Jets were the favorites to land him, and now
I think the only thing that the Ravens might accomplish is getting OBJ to want to play with the Jets.
We'll see.
And to drive the Jets' number up a little.
It's exciting.
Because if the Jets, it's one thing if Baltimore does it, because for so many years, Baltimore hasn't had anyone that even resembled the number one receiver. And no offense, Hollywood Brown, you were not it. Des Bryant, who once upon a time was a great Dallas Cowboy receiver, they tried it with him. You could just tell. I mean, it was cool to see him put up the X a couple of times, especially since he wasn't doing it against my team.
And Brett still wants him to go back to that team, too.
Don't let him back in the league, dude. Brett will find a way to draft him.
I think Brett's going to draft him just from hearing this.
Odell Beckham, man. It's like the story that just keeps on giving. Everybody thinks that Aaron Rodgers is like a topsy-turvy, strange story. I'm like, man, Odell hasn't played in over a year. Everybody's salivating on this. And I like Odell. And of course, I'm a huge Giants fan, and the nostalgia would be kind of cool to see him put the blue on again. But even I'm kind of over it. I'm like, dude, I get that you want to ensure the most money that you could possibly get, but there's something that we call a domino effect. I remember when the Giants gave you that very handsome deal. You roll up to go shit on Eli with Lil Wayne and talk with Josina Anderson. You get your ass traded. All these Giant fans crying about, oh man, I hated that trade. Dude, we got Dexter Lawrence out of that. Who's a better football player right now, and who could do more for their team right now? I hear people saying, oh, he's the Super Bowl MVP if he doesn't get hurt. Possibly. But is anybody going to, take into consideration that Cooper Kupp made a lot of that possible because he's drawing the number one cover on the other team? Listen, I'm not trying to discredit Odell Beckham. Phenomenal, phenomenal talent when healthy. But I think somebody would seriously have to get their head examined if they are that comfortable paying him that kind of money at this juncture of his career. Odell squandered a lot of money because that Giant deal got transferred to Cleveland. Then he was sick of Cleveland. Then he wanted to go find out where he could go. He ended up going to the Rams. Won a Super Bowl. Good for him. You know how much he lost a lot of money, though. And now it's like, after all these injuries, now you're trying to get a big bag. I'm like, dude, you had the bag. In the greatest city in the world.
The greatest city in the world? He wasn't in Vegas.
Yeah, I get where you're going.
Just saying. No, I'm interested. I just want this to end with OBJ and Aaron Rodgers. I am so tired of hearing about the two of them, and it's like, just get it over with. And we are what, 25 days from draft night. Yeah, and we're gonna hear something every
draft show too.
Yeah, we're gonna hear something every night. Oh, I'm excited. I can't wait to do a mock draft. I am so excited about this year's draft. I'm excited about the talent out there. Who's going to get quarterbacks? Who's going to drop? Who's going to be this year's Aaron Rodgers?
I saw something today that suggested that the Giants trade into the top 15.
For what, though? For Porter? Joey Porter?
Possibly.
I just can't see Joey Porter dropping below Pittsburgh.
It just makes too much sense.
It makes way too much sense. But you would have to get up in the top 15 to get ahead of Pittsburgh. So.
And speaking of my cousin, Mario, he started as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. He didn't really have a team yet. You know what I'm saying? But the second that the Carolina Panthers came into the league, he basically, Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green went over there. That was his squad. He's kept it true since then. But, he was very enamored with the Bill Cowher defenses.
Imagine building a defense, an expansion team, building a defense right off the bat from a Kevin Green and a Greg Lloyd. That Panthers team was, yeah.
And then you look at the AFC side of it, what Jacksonville put together rather quickly. You get an excellent quarterback in a Mark Brunell, who the Green Bay Packers didn't protect. At one time, Green Bay had Brett Favre, Mark Brunell, Kurt Warner, all in the same quarterback room, which is –
and Doug Peterson.
Yeah, Doug Peterson as well. It's crazy. The Giants could have drafted Brunell. We kind of have this stigma against left-handed quarterbacks. I mean, granted, we did have the hefty lefty, may he rest in peace, Jared Lorenzen, but not as a starter. I do think that there was a stigma with having a left-handed quarterback back then for the G-men. And, I mean, it's okay. We got Dave Brown.
Number 17.
You know, it's like those old commercials used to say with the NBA promos: "Hate the draft, love the draft." You know, the draft is quite the event. It has come so far since what it used to be. Now it is like a full-fledged, like it's just an event, man. It's like truly an event.
I'm telling you, I went to the draft in Dallas and I went to the draft in Vegas last year, and it is an absolute great time. I mean, it's something I highly recommend doing. I wanted to go this year to Kansas City, but I'm gonna look into next year's for Detroit. I think that would be awesome to go check out.
Yeah, Motor City, and it's wild too because they have been such a terrible franchise for so long. They're now finally having some honest hope, probably since the Megatron days and before him, the Barry Sanders days. Hard to believe that the last time this team went to a title game, their quarterback was Scott Mitchell.
Scott Mitchell, number 19. Him with Barry and Herman Moore.
Herman Moore, one of the most underrated wide receivers to ever play the game.
Come on, man. That Lions team was fun to watch.
Don't get me. Yeah, he's going down memory lane with us. Don't get me involved with Kerry Collins. Hey, pal, at least he didn't lose a Super Bowl for you. He did that for us. Oh, my.
That's right. Just a quick update. We're 14 minutes and 45 seconds remaining in the second half. UConn is up 45-35 with the ball.
Only 5 baskets. I mean, they're hanging. They're hanging.
They're definitely hanging. And they just turned it over. And San Diego State turned it back over. And, yeah. Still 10-point game. So we're that much closer to knowing who the men's college basketball champions will be.
NFL draft show on deck. We're going to be doing a mock draft in the near future. I have something planned for my New York Giants lovers with my guy Quinton Moore, as well as Mr. Idris Salam, possibly a guest as well. Definitely looking forward to having a Giants show. We're working on putting out another movie show from the winners of the 2 previous movie shows. Got a lot cooking and a lot to look forward to here on the show. Also want to do another hip-hop show. I did speak briefly to Idris on that matter, as well as good friend of this show, Zay. So we're going to be working on that as well.
Let's get it.
Until next time, he is Zappy. I am Richie. And I'm going to go take a peek and see what West Coast baseball is still going on. He's so excited about that. Do you want to tell – we got a few minutes. Do you want to tell the story behind the creation of that thing? Or did you already say that? And I'm going to subject the viewer to hearing about this twice. I don't know. Like talk to us here.
I don't think I ever really got into the creation of it. I just wanted to make something. And I got a little lesson in doing it, and I created this.
Bob the Builder over here.
That's right.
3-1 Texas Rangers, 3-1 New York Yankees. And we play later this month.
Oh, let's see. I got one for you. The Angels. The Angels look like a better team this year.
Come on, bro.
Dude, they look like a better – Ohtani got another one.
Are you talking about everyone's MVP?
America's MVP.
The greatest?
It's the greatest, man. It's Babe Ruth 2.0.
Something like that. But you know, Babe Ruth won.
Give it time. Ohtani's young.
He's young. He's young, but he's gonna have to. He's not winning nothing on that franchise. That franchise is cursed.
No, God, no. He's gonna do it in Seattle.
Maybe.
Dodgers,
it's gonna be somebody in either. Well, if we're talking a trade, it's not gonna be Seattle. I'll tell you that.
It's gonna be the Rangers.
You know, you're talking about a guy who's gonna enter free agency at the end of the year, and if I'm the Angels and you know damn well you're not keeping him, it's kind of weird, but it might happen that at the deadline you see a mega deal go down featuring Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, yeah.
And this is my next question, since he does it all. Will he still garner MVP votes for the American League? He gets dealt over to the National.
Probably.
Guy does it all. I'm being
He's
facetious.
the first MVP.
I'm being facetious because I was in my feelings about, how everybody on SI just picked him. And I'm like, damn, guys. Aaron Judge hit 62 last year. He needs at least to get one of your votes. And it's just one magazine, and it's just 5 or 6 people or 8 people or whatever it is. But the bottom line is like, the guy's great. I am interested to see where he goes. And why not San Diego? I mean, everybody else is over there.
No kidding.
Mike, what does your gut tell you? What does your gut tell you?
My gut tells me that there's 2 teams, one in each conference. One of them is Boston, and the other one is the Dodgers.
Boston?
Yeah.
Why?
They need that piece. They need some. No, it's just
in a few pieces.
Well, they need a few pieces, yeah, but it's not going to be the Yankees.
No, I know that.
If there was an East Coast team that's what I'm trying to do it on.
If there's an East Coast team, it's the Mets because Uncle Stevie will. Yeah, maybe. If there's an East Coast team, it's the Mets. I still don't see it being an East Coast team. I think it's Seattle. I think it's San Francisco. I think it's the other LA team or San Diego. I really believe that dude stays on the West Coast.
Of course, it's the quickest route to Japan, so that's the big reason why he wants to do it.
And I also am not 100% sure if he wants to deal with the New York media.
Hey, we'll take him in Texas and we'll love him. That is
again. If you're going to score him, it has to be in free agency. They will not. That's another thing too. That's another aspect of this. Are you going to be comfortable trading for a guy that you don't know you could keep?
Well, you're only trading for him if you can, knowing you can keep him. And Ohtani's controlling this trade. Remember that. So if you told me today that the Rangers have an opportunity to go pull a trade for Ohtani and it's going to require a Jack Leiter, a White, and a few other prospects, I'm pulling the trigger. Go.
I still don't see an interdivision trade. I just don't see it. But I've seen crazier things.
But no, it's got to be National League. That makes the most sense.
Yeah, and like I said, if he hits free agency and if he doesn't get traded, if there is an East Coast team, when I think about it all, it would be the Mets.
No, definitely.
Got to offset that combined 80 years old of Max and Verlander. Until next time, he is Zappy. I am Richie. Thank you for staying up, hanging with us, and watching. And I'm going to go catch the end of one of these West Coast games. We out for now. Thank you for watching. And I think that's it. 3-1.
35.
Yeah.
UConn's going to win it.
Yeah, I know. Shout out Lonnie. One of my coworkers called that from the jump.
Hey, my score has a chance.
Yeah, your score does have a chance. Mine definitely doesn't. I went a little too high on the score. Zappy and I are going to hang for a little bit, and we're going to discuss our next show. We will be keeping you guys in the know of what we plan on doing next. We are out for now. Thank you for watching.